أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المغصوبين أما بعد فقال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الذين كفروا بآيات الله لهم عذاب شديد والله عزيز ذو انتقام صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسول رب العالمين صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرج. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The 10th of Ashura is upon us. The 10th of Muharram, the day of Ashura, is upon us. The saddest day in our calendar, the day in which when we mourn, when we lament, when we listen to the eulogies, we are definitely remembering the suffering and the oppression that Imam Hussain ﷺ and his loyal servants and his household faced on that day. At the same time, we are not crying alone. We are not lamenting alone. We are also crying with the master of our time, Imam al-Hujjah alayhi salatu wasalam. May Allah hasten his reappearance and may Allah grant us to be amongst his loyal servants. We are offering our condolences to him. It is recommended that on like today, we stand up and we face the Qibla, or if we like, we can face any direction, and we call out the Imam and we offer him our condolences, be it in Arabic, be it in our own language and in the way that we like and we feel. Because we know that the Imam's heart is under so much stress today, especially today. He is by his father's grave, he is mourning, he is crying, he is doing matam, he is in azadari. The way that we can show our allegiance to the Imam is by also committing to the azadari and committing to it through our various means, be it through technology, be it either we are reciting or we are gathering people in our homes, but we have to do it in our fullest potential. There should not be any compromise so that we can show the Imam that we are with you. As we were discussing previously as well, the continuation of the message of Karbala, and also today we will discuss about the vengeance of Imam Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam for the blood and for the life and for his father's cause and path, Imam al-Husayn. First, we have to understand that when we are still looking at the message of Karbala, when we are moving in this continuation towards that vengeance and towards the avenging of his blood, the scholars have very well given their duties in this. We should not forget this, because today we are seated in the 21st century at such ease. It is so easy for us to have an online majlis as we are having right now, to have majlis in our home, to attend the majlis in the Imam Bargah or the Husayniyat that are close to us. This is all from the effort and the blood and the sweat that the scholars have put forth, and they did throughout the ages after the time of occultation. We should not forget this, and we have to pay homage to them as well. The scholars have such a high status in our society, such that the Masumeen alayhimu salatu wasalam say that al-ulama'u umana'u ar-rusul. They are the custodians of the prophets. Not just one prophet, they are the custodians of all prophets. There's another narration that the Holy Prophet has says, it's ascribed to the Holy Prophet through the Imams, that the scholars are the fortresses of Islam. We understand that a fortress protects the people inside. So imagine the fortress of Islam, they are the scholars. The fortresses of Islam are the scholars. So we should respect them and we should follow what they say. And of course identify the true scholars that are the fortresses of Islam and not the scholars that are destroying the face of Islam. We have to also have this identification. And inshallah, when we discuss today in our topic, we will understand how to distinguish between the two. Because we know the final message of Imam Hussain was the never-ending war between righteousness and falsehood, truthfulness and falsehood, haqq and batil. This started from the creation of man. We look in history, what happens when the sons of Hazrat Adam, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, Abel and Cain, Habil and Qabil, what happened is that they were going against each other to get the praise of Allah and become the true successor of Nabi Adam. Then we know the story. The sacrifice of Abel, alayhi salam, it was accepted. But Cain, he did not like this. He was filled with jealousy. He was fueled with anger. He could not stand the fact that he was not chosen. And this is the reason why he was not chosen. Because he was stained inside. His beliefs and his core system was impure. Then we know what happened. It was the most atrocious crime, the first crime that was committed, where he killed his own brother, to the extent where he spilt the blood of his own brother. Many crimes were committed after that as well. Even in our century, you have genocides being committed. It is that same essence of falsehood. Falsehood takes up many different faces. And as we will discuss, we will explain those faces as well, but we will talk about how the vengeance is going to take place and why does it need to take place. For this, I've been honored to recite the verse of the Holy Quran in Surah Al-Imran. Recite a salawat please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajam. Surah Al-Imran is the 3rd chapter, and in the 4th verse we see at the end where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that indeed those who defy the signs of Allah, indeed those who go against the signs of Allah, ayatillah. We know one of the greatest names of Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam is Ayatullah al-Uzma, the greatest sign of Allah, Ayatullah al-Uzma. So therefore if Imam Ali is also Ayatullah al-Uzma, then his sons are also Ayatullah. Because the prophets and the imams are also the signs of Allah. We see in our lives the different signs of Allah, the manifestations of Allah. We look at nature, we look at the birds, we look at the animals, we look at gravity, we look at the clouds, the waterfalls, we look at human beings of different races. These are all the signs of Allah. But here in this context, the specification is about those people who are denying the signs of Allah, and here it specifically shows that those people who deny the message and also the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what happens to them? لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ شَدِيدٌ. For them is a severe punishment. عَذَابٌ شَدِيدٌ. Because they have defied it. They have gone totally against it. Then what happens? We say, so for those people who have gone against the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah then says that He will give them a severe punishment. Why? Because Allah is the Almighty Avenger. Wallahu azizun dhun tiqam. Now this word, these few words, Azizun dhun tiqam, as in Allah is the greatest Avenger, the Almighty Avenger, we find it a few times in the Holy Quran, and I've seen that it appears in Surah Al-Imran, as we've already read it out for you. It also appears in Surah Ma'idah as well, verse 95, and it also, Surah Ma'idah, chapter 95, and it also appears in Surah Ibrahim. In Surah Ma'idah, how does it come? It comes at the end where it says, وَمَنْ عَادَ فَيَنْتَقِمُ اللَّهُ مِنْهُ. The people who will go against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the people who will be enemies to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah will seek vengeance from them. Wallahu azizun dhu intiqam. In Surah Ibrahim, look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that فَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ مُخْلِفَ وَعْدِهِ رُسُولَهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ ذُو انتِقَامٍ. That you should not go against the promise that was given to the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You should not defy it. And if you do so, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Almighty Avenger. We have to look at the word intiqam. One of the greatest names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-muntaqim, meaning the one who will avenge. Now, avenging and revenging, very similar, but of course there is a specific difference between them. There's a fine line. To seek revenge is for such that when a person is harmed or something has been taken away from him, he is taking that act personally and he's going to seek retribution from that specific person only. For example, God forbid, if someone has harmed me or he has snatched my cell phone, I'm going to find him and I'm going to take revenge on him. Right? This now has a personal vendetta. You have a grudge in your heart only on that person. This is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does, and this is not what His messengers do. To avenge now is to seek retribution for an act that was caused upon a certain people or upon the faith of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and now you are seeking vengeance for that from anyone who goes against that. So it's not just specific to that person. It's not a tit-for-tat argument or a tit-for-tat confrontation. That you just out there to seek a grudge, and because you hold that grudge in your heart, then you're just going to go, no matter what, you will try so hard throughout your entire life to go and fulfill that act of revenge against that single person. This is not something that Islam also practices. And it's very petty. But when Allah is al-muntaqim, blood was spilt, as we said, the Holy Prophet's bloods were spilt. Abel and Cain, the story, Cain killed Abel. After that, many of the other prophets were also killed. They were slaughtered. Hazrat Yahya alayhi salam was slaughtered. All this is not done in vain, because it's the constant fight between haqq and batil. Now, evil may take a shape in different forms, and it may come in a different face in every century or in every time. It may not only be that same face. When we look at Abel and Cain, Cain was the face of evil. When we look at the story of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam and Namrud, Namrud was the face of evil. When we look at Hazrat Musa and the Pharaoh was the face of evil. During our Prophet's time, he had different enemies that were the faces of evil. During each and every single Imam's time, there were people who opposed them and opposed their law that they were trying to uphold and upkeep. Most importantly, in the day of Ashura, Imam Hussain stood up against the face of evil, because evil took a face in the form of Yazid ibn Ziyad, Umar Sa'd and their followers. So it's a constant battle between haqq and batil. Haqq is always with the righteous ones, and the most important aspect is that haqq is always with Ahlulbayt alayhimus salatu wasalam. Recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraj. When haqq is with Ahlulbayt alayhimus salatu wassalam, we remember the most famous narration that the Holy Prophet said for Ali. Aliyu ma'al haqq wal haqqu ma'ali. That Ali is with haqq and haqq is also with Ali. They will never be separated. Therefore, if Ali is right, the manifestation of righteousness, truthfulness, then his sons are also the manifestation of truthfulness. They are the champions of truthfulness. Anyone who opposes them is outside of the circle of haqq. Now when we look at the definition of Islam, that kalimut tayyib, as we discussed previously, anyone who says La ilaha illallah then comes under that barrier or under that umbrella of haqq. He must come under that. It's not only a declaration, as we said, it's not just a declaration by tongue or only by the heart, it's actually the declaration in our actions as well. Our actions also have to show the manifestation of that haqq that we have declared, La ilaha illallah. That the entire truthfulness is only with Allah and His loyal subjects or His loyal servants, or the ambassadors, Khalifatullah, the ambassadors that Allah has chosen. Allah has chosen to provide this truthfulness in the world. Imam Hussain ﷺ was providing this for the people. He was telling the people several times, when he left Medina, when he arrived in Mecca, when he left Mecca, when he was going towards Kufa, and then he was stopped on the way. Many a times he was just telling the people that, look, this is what I'm trying to do. I am upholding my grandfather's faith. I am reforming my grandfather's faith. The reason why I'm standing up is because I am on the righteous path. I am the manifestation of righteousness. I am going against the entirety of evilness and falsehood. If you want to know which side to choose, you have to understand who I am. So we have to seek ma'rifah, we have to seek the true understanding of that. And now we have to identify who is the one who is against Hussain. Al-haqqu ma'ali wal-aliyu ma'al-haqq. Similarly, al-haqqu ma'al-Husayn wal-Husaynu ma'al-haqq. So as soon as anyone who is not on the path of haqq, therefore he is not with Hussain. The same thing, anyone who is not on the path of haqq is not with Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam. May Allah hasten his reappearance. So therefore these great figures, these true messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ones who are upholding the faith of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ones who are strongly and firmly holding the pillars of the faith, they are telling us that, look, this blood was spilt and it's not spilt in vain. Vengeance will finally take place, and the one who will be taking that vengeance is the leader of our time, Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wassalam. Please recite salawat. When we see that the Imam is the true custodian of the faith, and it is his duty to seek out this vengeance, to avenge, it's not only just the blood of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, it's the blood of anyone who was martyred on the path of righteousness. Our 11 Imams were martyred. Previously, so many prophets were martyred as well. So he will come and also take retribution, seek vengeance, avenge the blood also that was spilt for those prophets and for the Imams. He will be seeking vengeance for the blood that was spilt innocently in this whole world. Because we look in the Holy Quran, in the verse 33 of chapter Surah Isra, chapter number 17, Surah Isra, وَمَنْ قُتِلَ مَظْلُومًا. Anyone who is killed in oppression. فَقَدْ جَعَلْنَا لِوَلِيِّهِ سُلْطَانًا. So whoever is killed unjustly, what happened? Imam Hussain ﷺ was killed unjustly. He is madloom. They regarded it legal upon themselves to shed the blood of Imam Hussain. فَقَدْ جَعَلْنَا لِوَلِيِّهِ سُلْطَانًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we have indeed given to his heir true authority. According to the Mufassirin, this verse was revealed for Imam Hussain, and also what فَقَدْ جَعَلْنَا لِوَلِيِّهِ سُلْطَانًا is Imam Zaman alayhi salatu wasalam. Because Imam Zaman is the true heir of Imam Hussain. And he will now have the ultimate authority, and he will undo that evil act that took place 14 centuries ago. When we look at the narrations, we want to understand now that definitely, okay, now that we've agreed, Allah is al-Muntaqim. He is the one who's going to take vengeance. Why? Because it is his divine right and it is his divine justice. Justice has to be served. He has given this to his messengers and the ones who he has chosen as the custodians of the faith. Therefore, they are also al-Muntaqim. Now, the true al-Muntaqim who we are waiting for is al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam. When we want to wait for Imam al-Zaman alayhi salatu wasalam, we find that when he comes back to rule the world, when the day arrives for him to start his journey, he will stand and lean against the Kaaba. And it is written in Kitab al-Irshad, Shaykh Mufid brings it, that the Imam will cry out 5 sentences. He will declare 5 things to the entire world. He says in number 1, he says, Ala ya ahlal alam, O people of the world, Ana al-imamul qaim, I am the Imam who is uprising, who is rising up. So Qiyam, al-Qaim is of course al-Mahdi. Why is he doing Qiyam? Why is he uprising? Because it's the same message that Imam Hussain stood up for against Yazid. Imam Hussain was the Qaim of his time. He stood up against falsehood. He stood up to undo all the blotches and the obliterations, the evilness that was being practiced at that time. Everything that was becoming haram in the religion was in fact halal in the religion, and the opposite. Everything that was haram in the religion was becoming halal. Everything that was halal was becoming haram. Yazid was making alcohol public in front of everyone. Was drinking at that time. When we look at the court of Yazid, when Sayyidah Zainab salamullah alayha and Imam Sajjad alayhi salatu wasalam and the family of Ahlulbayt, when they entered the court of Yazid, he was in a drunkenness state. He was dishing out alcohol to all his subordinates and his guests. Similarly, we see that in the court of Ibn Ziyad in Kufa when they arrived. So these people were changing the face of religion. Imam Hussain said, as we mentioned previously, that he is rising up to reform the religion of his grandfather. Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam is doing the same message. When he comes, there is a famous narration from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraja. And it comes also in the hadith books of our brothers, the Sunni brothers as well, in their authentic hadith books, and it's also in our hadith books as well. And it has 1 or 2 different wordings, but the understanding is this, that the Holy Prophet is saying that from my progeny, from my descendants, al-Mahdi will rise up and he will fill the earth with truthfulness and justice and righteousness, just in the same amount as it is filled with falsehood, tyranny and oppression. Recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraja. So, as he is rising up and he is fulfilling this duty that his grandfather has promised to the whole world, and it will echo throughout the times until the Imam comes again, that he is going to cleanse this world from all that falsehood that it has, the hypocrisy, the changing of religions, the changing of laws, everything that is godly, all the laws that are godly will start fading away. They will begin to fade away, and the people will change them so much that the people will actually start saying, this is the true religion of Allah. One of the main things that the Imam will do when he arrives is to cancel out all these individuals who have taken the flag of religion and have totally finished off the true laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they have started to apply, they will start applying their own laws at that time. And we find it even today as well, and we saw it even in our history. What happened with Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, the same thing. The laws of Islam were being changed, and the Imam took it upon himself, because that is the duty of the Imam, to uphold the faith, to be the custodian of the faith. This is exactly the same thing that Imam Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam will do. The similarities between Imam and Imam Hussain. Which is why when the Imam will rise up, and when he will chant out and he will cry out, or he will call out to the whole world, Ala ya Ahl al-Alam, he will hold the flag, and on the flag it will be written, Ya Latharat al-Husayn. Ya Latharat al-Husayn means that for the vengeance of the blood of Imam Hussain. Tha'ar is the vengeance that is carried out by a physical mean, meaning that a war has to take place. As much as we can preach, the people are also changing. So there needs to be a physical confrontation to undo all that has been done, all the evilness that has been done. Let's take an example of a vessel. At the bottom of that vessel, according to Ahkam, we know that if there is a solidified impurity, no matter how much we pour inside that vessel, no matter how much water we pour, even if we pour in like the water of Zamzam, that vessel, because of its impurity, will make anything impure inside that vessel. The only way to purify that vessel is to scrape off that impurity, rinse it out, wash it, whether we want to use a steel scotch or any way, maybe we need to scrape it with a knife or something. Remove that physical impurity. We have to apply some physical strength to it. It has to have some sort of physical contact. There is going to be some sort of confrontation. Once that physical impurity has been removed, we have cleansed now that vessel, then now we are ready to pour in water that will be pure, and that vessel will, because it's already purified, then we can then quench ourselves from that vessel. Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wassalam will physically remove that impurity that is in this world, and then he will refill it with the most purest water, that we will quench ourselves with that, and we are yearning for that. We are all thirsty. One of the acts that we need to do in this time is to be muntazirun, to be the ones who are awaiting the Imam, and to be part of the Imam's message for his avenging of his father. The way that al-muntazirun wait is that they purify themselves. They make themselves ready. We see on the day of Ashura, the doors of Allah's mercy were not shut until Imam Hussein's blood was spilt. Imam Hussain was calling out to the enemies, I am the proof of Allah. I am Hujjatullah. I am the son of Fatimah. I am the son of Ali. I am the son of the Holy Prophet. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraja. The only person who listened to that, and we know, was Hur, and also his son, and also there were a few others also that moved from the enemy's camps into Imam Hussein's camp. They heard this, and they realized that, the time is not on our side, and sooner or later we're going to be in hellfire. We're going to be the ones on the sides of the oppressed, and we're not going to be, we're going to be the ones on the side of the oppressor, and we're not going to be with the one who is being oppressed. We are not being with the Imam of our time. We are not listening to the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They finally realized it, and they came to the Imam Hurr alayhi salam. We know the famous story. He comes and he says, Halli at-tawbah. Is there a chance of forgiveness for me, ya Imam? The Imam says, yes, definitely. Come into my camps. And then Hurr was given such a high status that he was amongst the martyrs of Karbala. So even now we are practicing this today. We are Hurr. We are standing on that very thin line between righteousness and falsehood. Every day we are battling it, even within ourselves. We have to solve this within ourselves so that it can then be solved externally in the world. So that tomorrow when the Imam comes, we are ready. Imam, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to hold the flag of Ya Latharat al-Husayn truly. Because this flag was raised up a few times after the events of Karbala. We know that Tawwabin also, they raised this flag. They realized that, oh, it's after Imam was martyred, and there were almost about 3,000 of them. And Mukhtar was telling them, look, side with me, don't go out against Ibn Ziyad and the enemies. They said, no, we must be killed, because for us to stay alive, there's no purpose for us anymore. Why? Because we did not give ourselves to Hussain. They had the flag of Ya Latharat al-Husayn. Many a times in history as well, we saw that this flag was raised. And it was raised on false pretense. It was similarly to the case of when Ammar saw that Muawiyah's camps are being weakened, and Malik Ashtar was about to infiltrate Muawiyah's camp, and they would have won the battle. What did they do? They raised the Qur'ans on the spear, saying that the Qur'an is only going to be the final judge between us. It was a false flag. The Imam was calling to them, saying that I am the Qur'an. I am the true manifestation of the Qur'an. Follow me. This is just a decoy. It's diverting you from the true target, from the true goals that you're supposed to do, that you have to achieve. Similarly, Ya Latharat al-Husayn. The truest goal is only with the Imam. The Imam then goes on to say, in front of the Kaaba, when he will call out to the world, Ala ya ahl al-alam, ana al-samsam al-muntaqim. I am the definite, I am the unwavering avenger. The true avenger is the Imam and his true followers. These days we are hearing different types of avengers coming out, trying to avenge their own little ordeals or whatever's happening. But they are not the true avengers. Dear brothers and sisters, these are all false flags. They are deterring us from the true avenging, from the true flag of Ya Latharat al-Husayn. Imam continues, and inshallah we'll recite this, what he says, we will speak about them later on in our discussion. Now what we want to see is that when Ya Latharat al-Husayn, the flag of Ya Latharat al-Husayn is raised up, what will the Imam do? Why is there a need for that? We see in the dua of iftitah that we recite, inshallah we recite it every night in the holy month of Ramadan, such a beautiful dua. Dear brothers and sisters, I urge you to even look at it today even. Just have a look at it and you will see the rules and the manifestation of life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. In there it says, O Allah, we ardently desire that you confer upon us a respectful government through which you may give might to Islam and its followers, and you humiliate hypocrisy and its people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promising us all, is promising us, even in the Quran, He has promised that the rightful ones will rule over the earth. So we as Muslims now, we are asking Allah, we are calling out to Allah, please give us that government. That government is only with Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam. That government now, that we want, that's going to be full of righteousness, may we be part of that government. So that when we are part of that government, we are part of that avenging. Why? Because all that righteousness was preaching and that righteousness was telling us to do from the creation of Adam والسلام, until now, it is encompassed inside the message of Imam al-Mahdi والسلام. It is encompassed in the government of Imam al-Mahdi. We know after Mecca, he will go out to Kufa and make Kufa his capital. And then he will rule over the entire world, and he will wage war against his enemies, the enemies that would want to finish him off. And to join his government, to also be part of that avenging, we know that the prophets will also join him. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam is waiting, so that such a high-ranked prophet, he will come and he will give his allegiance to the Imam, and he will be under the commandment of the Imam. This is Hazrat Isa now. Why? Because he's also going to be fighting for that. We know what happened with Hazrat Isa. We know what happened with Hazrat Yahya. So it's that message. Dear brothers and sisters, I will reiterate again. The faces of evil changed. It's not a tit-for-tat mission that no, the descendants of Yazid and Yazid himself needs to be punished. There are Yazids in every time. The Imam now is going to tell us that we need to know where to stand. In our time, we need to stand with the Husayn of our time, who is Imam al-Mahdi, and we need to be against the Yazid of our time, and we have to identify who they are. So that we can be part of the avenging, we can be part of Hazrat Isa, we can be in those ranks as well. In order to understand who these people are and what their qualities they will have, because as I said, the Holy Prophet himself, Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, will also be part of that avenging. Now, part is also the regular mu'mineen that we have, but they're not just regular people. They are such people that when they worship, they do not sleep at night. We look on the night of Ashura. The historians say that from the camps of Husayn, from the tents of Husayn, like this humming was heard, like as if it was the humming of bees. They were busy with recital and worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were reciting the Quran. On the other hand side, you have people like Shimr, who at his time was one of the most famous Qari. But what is the difference between his recital of the Holy Quran and the recital of the followers of Imam Hussain? The followers of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam, they shall be busy in night prayer. The sound of them reciting the Quran will seem like the humming of the bees. They shall spend the night standing, and the mornings they shall mount, and they will ride out with the Imam of their time. This is the difference between the understanding of the faith. Those people also understood the faith. Dhuhr of Ashura, Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam is reciting his Dhuhr salah. At that time, when the enemies as well, they were reciting the Dhuhr. In the narrations we know, they were saying that hurry up, finish this event because we want to recite Salat al-Asr. Our Asr is becoming Qada. What is the difference between them understanding the faith and the people who were with Imam Hussain? What is the difference between today? The ones who are following the Yazid of their time, they are also reciting the Quran. Today also we find our grand scholars also, and the ones who are true to the faith, the ones who are true to the cause of Imam Hussain, who are mourning Imam Hussain, who are performing the Azadari, they also have, when they recited the Quran, they recite it with the true meaning. They understand the Quran truly, because this is what the Imam wants. See, the Imam needs expectations from his people. The Imam has expectations from the people, so when he is expecting us to be exactly what he wants us to be, then let's push towards that. Let's push to become like these individuals. It's in the tradition that these people, when they shall recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. These people in the night, they will be like monks and ascetics, and in the day they shall be ferocious like the lions. The people of Karbala were like that as well. The martyrs of Karbala. In front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were so humble. As soon as they stood up for prayer, as soon as they recited tasbih, as soon as they recited Quran. But on the day of Ashura, we saw each one of them fight so valiantly, so bravely that the Imam had a smile on his face that, yes, my dear disciples, you definitely showed yourself by defending me and defending the house of the Prophet. They shall be more obedient to the Imam like as if a slave to his master. The slave listens to his master. The master says sit, the slave sits. The master says stand, the slave will stand. The master says go, the slave will go. The master says come, the slave will come. But these people will be more obedient to the Imam than a slave to his master. Their hearts will be like lanterns in which the lamps will be light. These people themselves are going to be the true influencers. Today you have so many different influences online. But the true influencers are the people who are with Imam al-Mahdi, holding the true flag of Ya Latharat al-Hussain. Day in, day out, they are crying, they are weeping, they are waiting for the time of Imam so that the hukm, the order of the Imam will happen, and they will raise that flag of Ya Latharat al-Hussain, and they will go out and cleanse the world. They are the true influence, that influences. People will be influenced by them. They will aspire to be like them. So why not us? We have it in the narrations that this is how they will be. Let us aspire to be that, and then inshallah, you and I will be amongst those individuals. They shall invite people towards martyrdom. Karbala, Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was going, he was inviting people. He said, this is the journey of death. Whoever is joining us, it's only death. It's only martyrdom. A handful joined him. But with the Imam, inshallah, there will be numbers and numbers. And they shall be eager to be killed in the way of Allah. Their slogan shall be, Ya Latharat al-Hussain. They shall be chanting this. Recite salawat, please, dear brothers and sisters. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraj. Inshallah, may Allah allow us to be amongst those people. In Ziyarat Ashura, we read, أن يرزقني طلب ثارق مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد. Allahumma, may Allah grant us that He can allow us to be amongst those who seek the vengeance of Imam Hussain, ma'a Imam Mansur, with the Imam who will be helped. And that Imam, where will he come from? Min Ahli Bayti Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ali. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The Imam who will be helped by the people is going to come from the Ahlulbayt alayhimus salatu wassalam. And this same Imam, dear brothers and sisters, when he's crying out, when he's calling out to the world in front of the Kaaba, he's telling the people, Ana al-Muntaqim, Ana al-Imam al-Qaim. So he's telling them, come help me. And it's the same echo that is echoing till today. Imam Hussain said, is there anyone who's going to help me? Similarly with every other Imam, it was the same slogan, is there anyone who's going to help me? Because as we said, the Imams are with righteousness. If we help the Imams, we are in that camp of righteousness. Now on the day of Ashura, we know what happened. The atrocities that were killed, that they committed, the enemies of Allah, they killed the Prophet's son. And may Allah grant us that we can be the true mourners of Imam Hussain. One of the ways is that we follow the Imam and we mourn for him. We follow the Imam and we mourn for him, and we show the Imam that, look, I am with your son, Imam al-Mahdi. As he is mourning today, I am mourning as well. And how will Imam mourn? The Imam will start reciting Masa'ib when he comes. One of his ways that he will call out after he says, Ala ya ahl al-alam, ana al-imam al-qaim, ala ya ahl al-alam, ana al-samsam al-muntaqim. He will say, Ala ya ahl al-alam, inna jaddi al-Husayn qataluhu atshana. O people of the world, my grandfather Hussain was slaughtered while he was thirsty. My dear brothers and sisters, they did not give water to Imam Hussain. In his final moments, we know, Imam asked them, can you just give me a sip of water? Look at how they replied, the enemies of Allah. They said, you will taste the boiling water of hell. The Imam replied, I will never taste that. I will taste Kauthar, and my grandfather is waiting for me. You are the people who are lost. They slaughtered him in such a way that Imam Rada alayhi salatu wasalam says to his companion that if you want to cry, cry for Hussain, because they killed him like they killed a ram, a sheep. They slaughtered his jugulars while he did not have a single drop of water. What do we cry for on the day of Ashura, dear brothers and sisters? What can we not cry for? Let's ask ourselves how many times we've heard this in our lives, but still it is as if that it just happened yesterday. It is so clear in front of us how they took the lives of the blessed people of the household, how they killed Aun and Muhammad, how they killed Abbas, how they killed even the 6-month infant. This 6-month infant, the way he was slaughtered, min al-warid ila al-warid, from one jugular to the other, min al-udhun ila al-udhun. Harmala, when he pulled that arrow, it did not only just stab and pierce al-Asghar, it ripped his head off his body. Dear brothers, Imam Hussain saw all of this from the morning of Ashura until it was the time that when he looks left and he looks right, he starts calling out his beloveds. Where are you, O Zuhair? Where are you, Burair? Where are you, Jawn? Where are you, Habib? Where are you, Muslim? Where are you, Abbas? Where are you, Ali Akbar? Come to the help, come to the aid of your master. He is alone now. Allahu Akbar. The Imam then goes on and he will cry out, Imam al-Zaman. He will say, Inna jaddi al-Husayn tarahuhu aryana. Dear brothers and sisters, verily the Imam says, my grandfather Hussain, they left him bare on the plains of Karbala. His body was bare. They did not even leave sufficient that let's just leave the clothes that he had on him. They looted and plundered his body. When he comes to his sister Zainab, he says, Zainab, give me that shirt. She pulls out that shirt from the trunk. He takes the shirt and he starts ripping it apart. And he wears that underneath. What is going through the mind of Zainab at the moment? That, oh my brother, they will not even leave this. Why are you tearing this? I'm tearing it so that they may see that it's an old garment and they do not remove it from my body. But dear brothers and sisters, they removed it as well. They left the Imam bare on the plains of Karbala. Imam al-Zaman then says, Ala ya ahl al-alam, inna al-jaddi al-Husayn sahha. Dear brothers and sisters, what happened when the Imam was in his final moments? He was riding out, he was killing the enemies. They saw that they could not kill him one by one. They surrounded him and whatever they had, they threw at the Imam. Some people, they say that they didn't have anything in their hand, they picked up the sand and they threw it at Imam. A person picked up a stone and he flung it and it hit the Imam on his forehead. Blood then rushed down the Imam's face. He lifted up his shirt to wipe that blood. Imam's chest is now bare. Harmala sees this advantage and he shoots that arrow, the final arrow. It pierces the chest of the Imam. The Imam then pulls that arrow out. And because of that arrow, it was such a blow that Imam fell down. When he pulls that arrow out, the blood starts gushing out. Another person takes a spear and points it and stabs the Imam in his neck. Blood starts flowing out from the Imam's neck, such that the Imam cups the blood and wipes his face, and he says, "This is the way I will come and present myself in front of my Father." Then what happens is that the Imam is lying down. It is his final moments. Dear brothers and sisters, it's so difficult to recite. It's the day of Ashura, the day of lamenting, the day of mourning. Do not stop yourself from mourning as much as you can, dear brothers and sisters. Mourn on this day. Mourn so much that you are showing your allegiance to the Imam of our time. The Imam Husayn, in his final moments, Shimr, he comes. He grabs the beard of Husayn. He looks at Husayn's face and he is so astonished by the nur and the light that Husayn has that he starts crying. Imam tells Shimr, "Go away from here, do not do this. I will give you a greater reward." Shimr says, "I do not want your reward. I want the reward of Ibn Ziyad and Yazid." Imam says, "You will never see that." Because Shimr looked at the amazing and beautiful face of Husayn, he could not bear to slaughter him just like that. He turned Imam Husayn's face the other way. Shimr starts committing that attack on the back of Imam Husayn's neck. The deed was done. This is not enough for them. We look at what Imam says, Imam al-Mahdi. He says, "My grandfather was the one, tarahuhu udwana." The enemies trampled his body. Ibn Umar Sa'd then tells the people, this is not enough now. He tells the horses from the east to go to the west. He tells the horses from the west to go to the east. They crumpled and trampled the beloved body of Husayn, the flower of Zahra, the flower of the Prophet, such that his chest bones were grasped with the backbones. Dear brothers and sisters, this Masaib is so difficult to recite. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ala la'natullahi ala al-qawm al-zalimin. فَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ. With the tears flowing from your eyes, dear brothers and sisters, let us use this moment to pray. And let's pray for the Imam of our time. May Allah hasten his reappearance. And together let's recite the dua of Imam Zaman. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma kulli waliyyika al-Hujjah ibn al-Hasan. صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج واجعلنا من خير أعوانه وأنصاره والمستشهدين بين يديه. اللهم تقبل منا اللهم تقبل منا اللهم تقبل منا. اللهم ارزقنا شفاعة الحسين. اللهم ارزقنا زيارة الحسين. اللهم احشرنا مع الحسين في الدنيا والآخرة. بحق محمد وأهل بيته الطاهرين. يا ليتنا كنا معهم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه.